Hello everyone, John here with Ready Player Movies and welcome back to a brand new video. Hope you're all doing really well, guys. I think you've had a really good few days since I've been away. I've had my day off from work. I've just been chilling out, watching a couple of movies. Just finished watching Guardians 2, so I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for talking movies. So for those people that are just coming into this video blind and to the channel, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're kind of enjoying yourself so far, even though I've not really got started on anything yet. Yeah. As you can see, behind me, movies are my thing, which is why I'm called Ready Player Movies. If you'd like to, if you want, check back on some of my earlier videos if you like, and if there's anything there that takes your fancy, go ahead and pick something out from that and go and buy and watch it and whatever, you know. But anyway, guys, we're into part 3 of movies of a 40-year-old, and again, for those new viewers, I've got 2 earlier parts to this if you want to go and check out on those ones if you want, and then come back to this when we actually get underway. Absolutely great. Yeah, we're into part 3 of this, and like I say, I've really enjoyed doing this. It's been great putting these lists. Together. So let's get on with this. We are going through the noughties, guys. So let's get on. Okay, the noughties, starting off with 2002. My honourable mentions for 2002 go to Dog Soldiers, Eight-Legged Freaks and Spider-Man. Now, I'm not really going to talk an awful lot about the honourable mentions for the new people coming in, because I don't like to stretch my videos out too much, because I know sometimes they can go for the long time viewers. These videos can go on for a long time because I do tend to waffle a little bit, so I'm not going to go through these honorable mentions too much. So Dog Soldiers, Eight-Legged Freaks and Spider-Man are my honourable mentions, as I've just said. So my number 1 pick for 2002 goes to M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, starring Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix. I really like this film. Have done for a long time. It over the multiple watches that I've given it, I enjoy it even more, simply because it's so different from other genre movies of its time, really, because the real focus of this film isn't actually an alien invasion like it's made out to be, because that alien invasion aspect of the film is more of a side story more than it is a main story arc. The main story of this is about a family, is about a priest that is trying to find his faith again after he lost his wife in a freak car accident, and he lost his faith in God. But he also has 2 children and his brother living with him in his house. So it's that dynamic against this invasion story which makes the film so unique, and it's brilliantly directed as well by M. Night. I think it's probably one of, if not his best film. I'm not going to discount The Sixth Sense by any means, but I do think Science is probably one of the best work that he actually did in his earlier career. So yeah, Signs comes in as my number one pick for 2002. So moving on to 2003, my honorable mentions go to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, X-Men 2 or X-Men United, and Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, three really big movies there, and you think, whoa, yeah, really? They're your honourable mentions. Yeah, because there was that there's one film that went a little bit further than those three. Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, Freddy versus Jason. That little crossover film that took ages to make, that took ages to get into production. Yes, fine. Yeah, at my number one spot. Why? Well, to be honest, I'm not really a huge Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street person. If I've got to be really honest, I'm not really a big fan of the two franchises. My franchise is the Child's Play series. So you'd be quite surprised. You're obviously quite surprised that Freddy vs Jason has come in at top of the list. Well, because they've both come together in one movie, it makes it interesting. It makes it more interesting for me because the two horror icons in one film. So putting two that are very undecisive on together, it makes out for something quite, for me, a little bit special. It does have its problems, yes, it does. I can understand that, and I can understand that some people are really scratching their heads as to why this is at my top spot. But as I've said, with those points that I've made out, it does have a little special place right here. Well, over here, I should be. Yeah, yeah. It does have its redeeming qualities, especially at the time at a time when you're doing things that you're not supposed to. I'm not gonna talk about that. The stupid stuff that you would normally do when you're at college or when you're a rebel teenager, that kind of thing. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Freddy vs Jason is my number one pick for 2003. 2004. Right. Okay. This is another interesting pick for this for 2004, and we have in as my honorable mentions, the Roland Emmerich's The Day After Tomorrow, Harry Potter 3 and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and The Girl Next Door. Very interesting choices for those honourable mentions, which leads me to my number one pick, Spider-Man 2. Yeah, the other Sam Raimi movie, not the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the one with Doc Ock, probably one of the best earlier Sony Marvel movies of the time. This movie's an absolute blast. Even today, you could watch this against some of the stuff that Marvel did throughout the 2008 to 2010, 2019, actually 2019 with Endgame. Those 11 years, and it still stands the test. It still stands the test of time. In my opinion, anyway. I mean, the visuals are still as good, looks as good as they do now as they did back then. The actual storyline as well with Alfred Molina turn into Doc Ock, the whole execution of the film as well, the fight scene on the train, one of the best fight scenes ever in Marvel's long history. Just a great all round film, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 my remote. That was my remote. Spider-Man 2 is 2004's pick. Moving on to 2005. What do I have? Honourable mentions: Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Descent, and Spielberg's War of the Worlds. Again, a couple of interesting choices there. The Descent, and the film that I picked as my top spot were very close. I almost had to sort of flip a coin as to which one I thought should go there, because I love both of them. In fact, I love all four of them. You know, all four of them are great films, but The Descent really is one of those films that is another very uneasy movie, especially given the atmosphere that it has. It tells a story of a team of cavers that are all female led, that are all female, that evidently get coaxed into exploring a cave system that has been uncharted, and not without having a reason for it. It's full of like a nocturnal humanoid creature that feeds as cannibal, that feeds as I wouldn't necessarily say cannibals, but as animals. The hunt anything that's live. They hunt anything that's live. They're predators. With these dwellers, that they are predators. It leads to a great fight for survival between this team of cavers that are going in there for a bit of fun, basically, and it turns out to be a living hell for them. And it's directed by Neil Marshall as well, the guy that gave us the not so good Hellboy movie from a couple of years ago. This was one of his first ones. In fact, Dog Soldiers again was one of his that was my honourable mention for 2002. This was, I think, The Descent was his third movie, I think, something like that, maybe. I'm not far off from that, because obviously there wasn't a huge. It probably was his next film, actually, considering that Dog Soldiers was from 2002. But anyway, yeah. So my top spot for 2005 goes to Peter Jackson's King Kong. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, yeah, that's the obvious choice. But like I say, I would have gone for The Descent if I didn't hold King Kong, as the original King Kong, as one of my favourite movies of all time. Peter Jackson's King Kong is that love letter to the original 33 movie, and I just think he did such a great job in bringing King Kong to life in a new era of movies, and starting a new. I wouldn't necessarily say starting a new film technology, because of course this was pre-Avatar. So yeah, it pretty much did pave the way for James Cameron's work on Avatar. So well done, Peter Jackson. You outdid James Cameron. Yeah. So that's, yeah. Like I say, King Kong. I really like the film. I mean, we could have done without the first hour and a half of getting to the island. You know, it could have been reduced down. It didn't need to be as long as it did. I think that was one of its major downfalls. But you know, Peter Jackson's one of these people is a bit of a perfectionist, and he likes things done his way, which is absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine with me. But everything about King Kong is perfect for what he did. he did. I'm not gonna disgruntle his work on the film. He did a great job, and yeah, 2005 goes to King Kong. Obviously, that was a no-brainer. 2006 sees my honourable mentions go to Slither from James Gunn, the remake of The Hills Have Eyes, and Night at the Museum. Yeah, some pretty interesting films there as well, isn't there? Or maybe not. Anyone who thinks Slither is a bad film, just let me know in those comments down below. I love the film, to be really honest with you, but my my top spot for 2006 goes to Christopher Nolan's The Prestige, with Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, and David Bowie, and also a very beautiful, and also a young Scarlett Johansson. This is such a great magic. This is such a great movie that's based on illusions. I just love this film. It's just, there isn't really anything more I can add to this film about how good it really is. I mean, it's not really for everyone, because it's a bit too dramatized, a bit too brought down to earth a little bit. It gets a little bit silly towards the end. It does get a little silly towards the end as well. I mean, there's a good balance of of what is of what you can put into a film to make it believable, but towards the end it does kind of dip a little bit in quality when you realize exactly what's going on. But those plot twists towards the end of the film are great when you realize what's actually going on. It's like, oh right, yeah, okay, that's a bit that's a bit random. You know, it's one of those films, but it really captivated me at the time. So that's why it gets my number one spot for 2006. 2007, we have as my mentions, 1408, that little Stephen King movie, um, Zodiac from David Fincher, and Michael Bay's Transformers. Yeah, yeah. People thinking Transformers is an honourable mention. The film is okay. It's not really a bad film. The only thing that I could say that the only thing that I can't say which makes it more of an honourable mention is the fact that Michael Bay had a very this is my movie. This is my movie, and this is how I'm going to do it attitude over it, which kind of pissed a few people off, and it did piss a few people off, me included. But with the end product, you couldn't really complain, because it was groundbreaking what the visual effects team actually did with the mechanics of the transformations of the robots in disguise. But yeah, I did enjoy it for what it was. I thought there was some good overall. I thought there was some good overall performances as well. Shia LaBeouf, I like him. I actually like Shia LaBeouf in his films. He might be a bit of a screaming little. He might be a screaming little kid in this and in the second one, but other than that, his abilities as an actor, he is actually pretty good. And I like the fact that he stepped away from the Hollywood system and went into more sort of more independent films. You know, I would like to see him come back and do some more, and do some more Hollywood films. But with regards to that independent circuit, I am actually thinking of doing a video talking about the way Hollywood are actually doing their films are actually doing their films at the moment. I think now, after what's going on with COVID and some of the videos that I have actually spoken about in some of the videos that I've seen on YouTube, sorry, it seems that the world is taking a bit of a different look at cinema, and I think it will be I think it will be good to actually talk about that. Whether you think that is a feasible subject matter to talk about, let me know in the comments below, because I think it would be a very good. I think it could be very insightful. I'm going to do a little bit of homework into that, and we'll see where we go from it. So if you like the idea of me talking about the way cinema is going to go in the next few years, let me know in the comments. So anyway, yes. So my top pick for 2007 goes to the Bourne Ultimatum. Now, I I'm a huge fan of the Bourne films. I think they're absolutely awesome. The Bourne Identity, the one starting it all, was brilliant. The Bourne Supremacy I thought was a little bit of a step down from the first one. It was still good. It was still good. Some people say it's better than the first one. I kind of am one of the very few that somewhat disagrees with that. But the Bourne Ultimatum for me is what the two films should have been. The quality of the Bourne Ultimatum compared to Identity and Supremacy is very subpar compared to Ultimatum. Like I said, those two should have been what the Bourne Ultimatum was in terms of the way it was edited, the fight choreography, and all that the sort of thing. The way that the drama builds up throughout the film as well is just absolutely on spot on. You couldn't really you couldn't really get a better film, but I honestly feel that it should have been left at those three. If they hadn't have given you if they hadn't have given you the ending if they hadn't given us the ending that it currently has, it would have been a good closure for the series, and we wouldn't have needed to have the legacy with Renner, and we wouldn't have had to have Jason Bourne either. I just didn't see the point. I didn't see the point in the last two. I mean, Legacy was okay. Jason Bourne was just boring. It really was. But those first three were really good stories. They were really good. But I can understand why they wanted to continue the Ludlum, to continue on with the Robert Ludlum series of books, which is where the Legacy came in. It was an interesting concept, but unfortunately, it is Jason Bourne is why it's called the Bourne. The Bourne, why it is the Bourne series. But anyway, yeah, Bourne Ultimatum is my top spot for 2007. So moving on to 2008, this one's definitely a no-brainer, guys. This is definitely a no-brainer. But my honourable mentions, and a little will be a little questionable for some people in this. First off, we've got The Wrestler, starring Mickey Rourke, seven pounds with Will Smith and Iron Man. Now, the reason why Iron Man has made my honourable mentions, guys, is because against my number one pick, it was the second best film of the year. Well, that isn't the reason why it's there. This is the reason for me saying it was the second biggest film of the year is not the reason why it's my honourable mention. That's not the way this works. If it was, I would have the biggest films of the year in these lists at my top spot, but I don't. I don't, unfortunately. And a few people will be thinking, like, you should have that there or that there or that there. But this is my list. You have to understand that. But Iron Man for me, Even though it was groundbreaking for Marvel, you know, it was technically the first big budget movie that they made. They were basically tested the road to see how it came along, and yeah, it did really well. I was so entertained by it. It did everything I wanted it to. Um, it did everything I wanted it to do, I should say. And yeah, very entertaining movie, and kind of typical for kind of, I wouldn't say typical, but because of the way that it was done from by Jon Favreau, it was done in sort of like a not so comic book sense, which is good. You know, it did have its little dark tone that I like. I always like a film with a bit of a dark tone. Um, you know, it did everything it needed. It did everything it needed to start off what was going to become. But my top spot goes to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, which comes as no surprise to anyone really. Um, there's nothing I can there's nothing I can add to this film. It's just pure genius. I mean, some of the stunt work, and the fact that like a lot of the work that was done, it was all done practically, uh, as well, and as well as performances. I mean, what can I say about this film that hasn't already been said? I don't know. I just don't. I just don't. But it is my top spot for 2008. That's for definite. Anyway, 2009. Now this one was a tough one. I really was toggling with quite a few movies over this one, especially the top spot as well. There was a lot of really good, a lot for me, a lot of really good films the, this particular year that could have made that could have got into my honourable mentions as well as the top spot. But in the end, I went for Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince, the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish movie, and J.J. Abrams' Star Trek as my honourable mentions. Yeah, which leads me to District 9 being my number one spot for that year. District 9 for me was quite an experience, I should say, with it being more of a science fiction drama rather than a science fiction adventure film. I thought this film was fucking great. The 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 concept behind it does seem a little far fetched, having a guy turning into an alien, in in a film that's grounded in a film that is actually grounded in reality. It's very odd, but it kind of works for what it kind of works for some odd reason. I don't know how, don't quite know how to describe it, but it was just the pain and the torment that Charlton Copley's character actually goes throughout the film when the shit hits the fan for him, you know, and this transformation actually starts. You feel so sorry for him with everything that's going on with him, and his family turning against him, everyone trying to find him to use him as a weapon, that kind of thing. Oh, it's just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. It really is. Um, but yeah, I love District 9. I think it's a fantastically told story, and very much deserves to be at my number one spot for 2009. So 2010 now sees the honourable mentions going to Insidious, Kick-Ass, and Shutter Island. Yes, guys, Shutter Island of all movies. Um, Why is that in my number one spot? Well, it's because of the Book of Eli. The Book of Eli is my number one spot for 2010. This film is just absolutely spectacular. Denzel Washington, excuse me, sorry. Apart from Training Day, I think this film is probably one of the best performances he's ever is one of the best characters he's played. I mean, I love Denzel Washington. I think he's an awesome actor, and he's um, a very intelligent guy as well. He knows how to bring his characters to life. But in this film, it's just absolutely great, you know. And you wouldn't really think of him as the hero type, you know. Man on Fire was a bit of a different film. He was the good guy, but he didn't portray him as the typical good guy, because he didn't he played a good guy, but he didn't portray himself as a goody two shoes good guy. Whereas, you know, in a lot of films, in a lot of movies where you do get a good guy, he's very sort of like throws himself about a little bit and does his thing. But Book of Eli is great tough as nails character. A bit like, very similar um, to who he played in Training Day, but only a bit more Mad Max type, you know. Um, but yeah, I love the film. I really do. I love the film. It's a post-apocalyptic. I can never get my word. I can never get my tongue around this one. Post-apocalyptic. Wow, I did it. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's set in a post-apocalyptic world, and it's trying to get from one side. It's trying to get from one side of the USA to the other to deliver a book that has the key to survival or something like that. I can't quite remember. But I do recommend watching it, because I remember some parts of it. I remember some elements of the film, and it just, yeah, it was just great. Such a great watch. Yes. Okay. Right. So yeah. Moving on. So, moving on to 2011, our last year, the final year in this video, sees Real Steel, Captain America, and Attack the Block as my honourable mentions. Now, if you don't know what Attack the Block is, it's a British alien invasion film, starring John Boyega and Jodie Whittaker, and it's basically about aliens that terrorize um, a block of a block a tower block of flats in somewhere in London, and it's a really great little film. Actually, it's very street savvy. There's a lot of street language in it, so I'm not going to give you any examples of it, because I'm sure some people will be thinking, what the fuck is he saying? It's one of those. It's one of those. But the star of this year goes to, I don't know who directed it, but it goes to Warrior, with Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, Nick Nolte. Warrior, for me, is an absolutely fantastic sports movie. Probably one of the best that's out there, without a shadow of a doubt. I think it has some of the best acting performances I've ever seen from Tom Hardy and from Nick Nolte as well. I do know that he was nominated for best supporting actor in that film, and it was an absolute mutiny that he did not get that award for his performance in that film, because he was absolutely amazing in that film. And I do like Nick Nolte. I do like Nick Nolte's films. There's a lot of stuff that I do like him in, but his performance in Warrior was so Oscar worthy. It was an absolute sacrilege that he did not get that Best Supporting Actors award. But the film is absolutely superb. It really is. It's a mixed martial arts. It's set around the MMA circuit, and two brothers that enter for different reasons, and end up fighting each other at the end of the film. But it's the family story which is the real foundation of this film. It's not so much about the tournament. It's about the family. It's about the family dynamics and what is actually happening in this family. And it's amazing. It really is. It's probably probably the best sports film that I've ever seen. And I've seen quite a few, to be really honest with you. I know I've given a lot of films like Southpaw and Any Given Sunday a lot of praise, but when I went back to watch Warrior, in preparation for this, I knew why that was my number one pick for 2011. So yeah, so that is actually the end of my list for part 3, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've and as I said earlier on in the video, I'm loving doing this. I'm absolutely loving doing this. I really am. I think it's absolutely awesome. I'm really enjoying sharing my somewhat thoughts on these movies with you guys. I hope you lot like this just as much. I hope you've been enjoying this as much as I've enjoyed doing it for you. And thank you for thank you so much for tuning in, guys. If you did like the video, make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe as well if you like. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's absolutely fine. Got no problem with it. It's just a hobby. This is just a hobby for me. I'm not doing this for monetary or anything like that. And as I've just said, tell me what you think of the films that I've spoken about in this video, and also give me your top 10 from 2002 to 2011 as well. Tell me, I'm be interested to see what you guys would have picked for your era. If you're as old as me, even if you're not, and you've lived throughout 2002 to 2011, tell me what your favourite movies are from this period. That would be absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, guys. But as I said, thank you, really, thank you. It's great to have you on board. So if you are new, make sure to do those 3 little things. And if you want, you can also ring the bell to keep for YouTube, to keep you informed of any future videos that I will be releasing. I hope you all have a great day. And this is me, John, with Ready Player Movies, signing off. So just before I log off, guys, I'd just like to remind you all, and for the new viewers in this video, I'm giving away a copy of the new Mortal Kombat movie from this year. So if you would like the chance to bag yourself a copy of this movie, all you need to do is be a UK and Ireland resident, go back to the first video in this series, like it, subscribe as well if you like it. It is optional, but most importantly, tell me who your favourite Mortal Kombat character is. But I don't want any franchise characters such as Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Terminator, Alien, that kind of thing. Just purely Mortal Kombat fighters only. The lucky winner will be announced at the end of episode 4 of this series, so I will hold back on releasing that episode to give you guys a chance to get your entries in. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next video.